Hey everybody, before we get started, I want to let you know this video is being brought to you by Swapsicle. Swapsicle is a DEX, Swapsicle, like Popsicle. It's a DEX, but it's built on Avalanche, so kind of an interesting twist. You can check it out in the links below. I'm going to leave the links to Swapsicle itself, as well as their social media networks, so you can check those out. They are having a bounty campaign right now with up to 10,000 pops. They're up for grabs. The pops is their token, and you can go over here to the ice cream van is where you can stake your pops to earn more. So check out Swapsicle and enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a special treat. My good buddy, the genius, patriot, all around great guy, Joey Roets is here. The founder, architect of DragonChain, used to work for Disney's blockchain. Was good friends with Satoshi back in the beginning of Bitcoin. Actually, he secretly is Satoshi, just doesn't want anyone to know. It's all in the background. Very interesting guy. You've done a lot in your lifetime, man. But you're a really good guy, very good friend of mine.
Yes.
Good to have you on. I don't know why you don't come on more often. You need to.
I'll come on anytime. I just need to like show up. I just show up.
Yeah, you actually stood me up a couple times. So yeah.
What? You sure about this?
Yeah, it was weird too because like all of y'all stood me up one time, and it wasn't like a concerted effort.
Oh,
yeah,
that was like year end. That was like New Year's Eve or something, right?
Yeah, it was odd because like
I'm sorry, I do remember that.
Four people, and it was like what? But there's a lot for us to go over. We could go over a lot of stuff just with life in the world and just the United States. I did want to get your opinion on something that is going on.
Okay.
No one's talking about. Before we get into the SEC stuff with DragonChain and all that, I don't know if you knew this, but the administration has, they're going for a gun grab. They're trying to do that.
Yeah.
What they have done, though, is the former vice president, Mr. Biden, he has instituted a zero tolerance or a zero, whatever that zero thing is, with the ATF, and for license revocations. If you make any mistake and you have a FFL or a federal firearms license, they yank it. So they're going after the mom and pops, the pawn shops, the small, where people can buy guns. And furthermore, he's taken away all discretion from any local ATF agents. They can't make any calls on their own. It's just automatic. So guess how much license revocations are up this year?
I imagine a lot.
500%.
What?
Yeah, and
wow,
no one's talking about that. Not even in like the gun community. People aren't really talking about it because not a lot of people know about that. It's such a subtle, under the radar, way to do it. But yeah, it's going to get, harder and harder for you to just buy a gun or have a gun sent to you, where you have to go to a different town. Because if you live in a small town, you maybe got one place.
Yeah.
Not a lot of gunsmiths. You might have a range. You might have a pawn shop. There might literally just be a guy who has a FFL. So it's something people need to start talking about.
Yeah. Because I mean, they'll invent new angles. I mean, they've done that with the ammo. And I'm not an expert at this issue, but I've been following it as a layperson forever, right? I'm not a lawyer or anything, but man, some of the stuff they're trying to do. And then what gets me is that too many people who are against the gun grab try to, I guess, assume the arguments as valid that about hunting and about not being able to own a cannon and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's not about even if they did limit it, which I'm against limits at all. But even if they did, the real point is that we have to be able to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment.
People are scared to say that.
Yeah.
People are scared to say that.
It's reality. It's, you think about it, how radical is, if Jefferson were alive today, well, if any of those guys were alive today, they'd probably be in prison right now, right? But, Jefferson is like, and it all makes sense. The whole point of it is that, all forms of government tend toward tyranny.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a government, then let's make sure that and this is the only nation on earth that has this amount of armament inside the, citizenry. So,
My son said something to me that blew me away, because I was really pissed when I heard the former vice president say, the Constitution's not absolute. The Second Amendment is not absolute. I was mad. And then I said something about it to my son. He said, well, the Constitution's really not absolute. And I was like, what? He goes, well, that's why there's amendments and everything. And I was like, yeah, but. And then he said, but out of the Constitution, out of all of the amendments, there's only one that says, and this shall not be infringed. There's one thing that is absolute. And that's why they put that in there. This one, you can't mess with. This shall not be infringed. That's it. So there is one thing that is absolute.
Yeah.
Everything else is, also gets on my nerves, 9mm.
Well,
blow the lung out of the body.
God. Well, and by the way, that's the other bit. The fact that you have the, and I can't remember which is which. I wasn't thinking about this right, but the loose constructionism and the strict constructionism, where some constitutions will say the government can do these things, or they typically will say the citizens can only do these things. You only have these rights, whereas we had the Bill of Rights because people were worried enough by not explicitly saying it that it would be forgotten. It's like that. Well, wait. Remember, we spoke about the fact we have freedom of speech. It's like it's not anywhere in there. But the point is that and I think the term is loose constructionism on the other side, where this is defining what the government can do in the various branches, what it can do, and anything else is, people can do whatever they want, right? So, and it essentially says you can't make laws that restrict freedom of speech. You can't make, guess what? Hate speech, everything else. You can't restrict, you can't restrict or infringe upon someone bearing arms. So it's an interesting thing because those stated are natural rights, God-given rights. Depending upon your philosophical viewpoint, but the point is that they are understood to be base.
It's very weird to me that foreign people seem to get it more than Americans do nowadays, because they've studied it. Like basically all they know about American the way things are the way things are supposed to be, because they've studied it. And it's so odd to hear like Ricky Gervais or someone talk about freedom of speech, and he's not American, but he gets it. It doesn't. People need to be offended. That's what you don't understand. This country was founded with offensive people who came here because they offended people.
Dangerous men.
They came here. No, actually, they were like, people don't like the way we pray. They don't like the way we pray to the same God. We're Christian, but we're Quakers or we're whatever. But it's like we were offensive there, so we came here where anyone can be offensive. You can sing, you can hug each other, you can fart, whatever. As long as you don't try to force it on me, you can be offensive, and I'll be offended as long as I'm not harmed. And that's where people they've skewed the line, where you can't offend me because I'm harmed. No, you're not harmed.
Yeah.
It's that, I think it's that first world problem where things are so good and so easy that we think being offended is being harmed.
Yeah.
You're literally not scared of, you're scared of somebody, not liking what you're doing or offending you, you're not scared of them coming up and punching you in the mouth. You know, you're not scared of them, coming up and killing you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in your head, you probably are, but no, they're not going to do that. But that's a whole nother thing. I did want to just kind of talk about the FFL locations, because I thought that's something people need to hear about. We need to talk about. I'm also looking at expanding my channel, and with more like freedom, more libertarian, kind of the gun community, with also like the gold and other, just kind of bring more people in, expand my channel.
You might want to split it off enough in case it gets banned.
Yeah.
If you're crypto and guns, like, I don't know, man. But
you know what? But I when you said crypto and guns, I just felt like, yeah, a little voice inside was like, yeah, it's
totally.
Yeah.
I would be all for it. I would come on anytime you would let me come on. Right?
You can come on anytime. Yeah, like I just picked up 6 guns, and it was fun, and I'm probably gonna sell one to my buddy because
Does he keep bothering you?
He keeps bothering about it because I told him when I bought it. I was like, man, I just put in the lowest bid on this gun. Just got it on Gun Brokers, and he like looked it up. He's like, man, it's a $650 gun. I want that. I was like, well, I haven't got it yet. I'm like, oh, I'll think about it. And every day, all the time. You told me that it's a M16, right? But it's a shotgun. And I've bought one before and I gave it away. And it's so huge, man. It's just funny how big. It's like 1.5 M16s. It's just everything's a little big. Like if a giant had one, but it's so big and heavy and goofy looking. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna sell it to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you give us a quick overview of what's going on with the SEC and DragonChain and what you guys have done?
Okay. Gosh. So there's a lot, right? And we put out, so I guess the short side of it is we publicly released the letter, our response to them. So we've been talking to them since 2018. They sent us a letter in February of 2018. And so at first, it's like, look, I'm an engineer that happens to be an entrepreneur, right? I like building stuff. I like, creating things. And we got this letter and it's all foreign to me. So, we went and talked to our lawyers and they immediately at the time, the firm that we were with, just tried to scare us, right? They just did this whole, stoking the fire. They were pushing it. And it became clear later that, by doing that, they can up their billing. They can bring in new attorneys that are former SEC.
I was going to ask you about that, about how much you think over the last 4 years you've paid out.
I don't have the absolute numbers, but somewhere between 2.5 and 4.5 million in legal.
Oh my.
Yeah. It's bad, right? And it's just like that's money that could have been spent on developers, on partnerships,
saving the children.
Saving the children. What about the children?
Anything. It could have been,
yeah. And more than that, I would say, when if it got to damages, right, it would be how much time I had to spend on it, right, where my focus all of a sudden was split. And there was a tremendous amount because there were some things that happened that cost us time because I had to be, on with the lawyers instead of the engineers or instead of on a sales call or something, right? So there was a lot of that, huge costs. And I think, I make one reference to it in that letter that it seems to be a racket. I mean, it's on the one side, everybody knows, and the lawyers will even tell you. And if you talk to a former commissioner, they will tell you that it's all about, they're bureaucrats. So it's all about getting a checkbox to either getting their bonus at the end of the year or the bigger goal. And I point blank asked every single one of the attorneys that we've ever worked with that deals in this this area. You know, if you have a government bureaucrat, if they can pin somebody down, then they have that on a resume, and now they can go to one of the big law firms and make the big bucks. And they do make big bucks. Then they, you know, their partner, and they bill 12 to 2,000 an hour, and you know, it's crazy. So that's their goal, and so they, you know, they sent letters to everybody, but there were a lot of projects that didn't really have much effect. They, you know, kind of blew it off. A lot of projects closed down. So it's like, yeah, protecting if they were investors and this wasn't a utility token, then getting them closed down is certainly not.
Well, if they don't have the extra 2.5 to 4.5 million,
yeah,
what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're at the beginning of it and your investors see, oh, this is going to happen, we need to either be in for that 2.5 or 4 million, or we're out. Most of them are like, we have other places we can go, or we don't have that headache.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Frankly, if they had, and we offered up to a particular Congress person that was writing, attempting to formulate a better process for the crypto world. And so we offered up a whole bunch of points saying, look, here are the things that we did to protect the people so they didn't fall prey to scams or anything else in our community, right? You know, educational things. We laid out, look, you could build it out in a way that prevents the projects from pulling the rug from, you know, exit scam. We had a whole bunch of those things that we offered up. You could make this literally part of the process, you know, spelling it out. And, you know, it's an ever evolving thing, but generally those things have continued to this day. And if those guidelines, if that process was laid out and said, look, if you do this, you're in the good. You know, you have to register it this way. You have to communicate this way. Here are things you can't do. You could calculate that in to what your budget will need to be to cover, you know, that side of everything. But as it is, it's like, you have no idea. And so in that paper, I spell out how do I say this? Kind of the history, you know, why it's there. It's not, you know, I'm not a Goldman Sachs guy. I'm not a banker. So all the financial stuff is totally out of scope for what we're doing. Yes, someone could apply DragonChain to that, but that's not the point of DragonChain. You know, DragonChain is so that any use could be had. And it's a weird thing because I think some of the people who want all of you know, they're okay with Bitcoin alone being the only one that can legally exist, or Bitcoin and Ethereum being the only ones, which is really bad because you don't get the competition, and it's you know, the powers that be will control those. You know, in the end, they're still small enough markets. Anyway, so we lay out, here's all of the things, and we even talk about how the token model itself is a license. It's in fact, a patented license. So the U.S. Patent Office thought it novel enough and real enough to grant the patent on the model itself, which we did to protect ourselves, as we've done multiple times. But you know, I lay out everything there, you know, in the history and the use cases, and then the innovations, because we had several innovations. And at the end, I hit upon the arguments, and it's about you know, we basically lay out a few constitutional arguments, which we could get into, even speaking of what we talked about earlier, and also the Howey test. You know, things that answer specifically this test that they use to determine if it's security. Now, and I guess I didn't say, because they essentially drained us down through 4.5 years, right until the end of the calendar, when they can, before their statute of limitations runs out. And so they spring this on us, even though they had hinted to our attorneys that we're not, you know, we think everything's okay. We don't see anything that you've done improper. And if you guys keep doing this, then we don't expect much. And then no, they threw it on us, and like, okay, it's kind of crazy. And I asked them if it was because I was retweeting Ripple and library tweets and stuff, right? So who knows?
Could it be that petty? Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot, which you should check out World Blockchain Roundtable. It's every Thursday at 10 Central, 11 Eastern on DragonChain. On there usually every week. But it's easy to kind of just dismiss government people as stupid. But there's two things. One, I kind of had a realization about the former vice president. A lot of people just think they're stupid and they're morons. And honestly, they are. A lot of them are to a degree. But one thing that Greg from Rivet, he always defends government bureaucrats and people. They're not stupid. They just have bad information. And I think it's so much bigger than that. And we don't have the ability to understand because someone's made the thing about the former vice president. For 50 years, the man never had a job. He never earned $1. He never started a business, never worked for a business. He never. These people have had a life that we can't fathom. And their way of thinking is so different than the average human, not American, human being. You can go to any country, and people are going to have similar lives. For them to have, went to school and then never had a regular job, have always been, high-paying, easy government job, to have always been protected by bodyguards from when you're a young man at your work. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine just having a life working 50? The man has worked in government, been in government longer than I was alive. He voted on civil rights, voted wrong on civil rights. But he's been, so when you hear him say a 9mm will blow the lungs out of the body, he has no, if you're 25 years old, you have more life, you have more life experience than he has at like 70 some years old. You have more life experience.
Yep.
It blows my mind when you really think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like we couldn't get enough of what we had before in aristocracy, and so we had to invent our own. And you can say that, but I actually don't think it's us doing it. I think that the system has allowed it. That whoever's pulling strings, it makes them very easy to control if they're just kind of
started talking about conspiracies and red pills and stuff. They're stopping, because I was thinking earlier this month or last month, did the aristocracy really go away? Or did it just change?
Yeah.
Has it just been manipulated? Do they just, instead of lords and barons and all that, do they just have politicians?
Yeah.
I really, because there's this one count or whatever in Stuttgart where I grew up, and he's a nice guy, but he's very accessible and owns a winery. That's one of the ways they get all their money. But he talks about the aristocracy and like what their responsibilities are now, and it's all changed from kind of a ruling to a philanthropy, and it's very Soros minded. Now we need to shape people and shape and help, but you need to control and shape the world, and that's, I think, how they do it is through. I think it's just changed. I really, really do, because they didn't go away. They're just quiet. Princes and princesses and counts and viscounts, and they're still there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if it was informal, there should be something where we make the point that a difference between a professional politician and someone who is, either has been a doctor or a business person. I mean, the weird thing about it is, frankly, by and large, 90%, I would say, of all of the politicians were former lawyers. So it's just like you have this class of attorneys that get into the right clubs that essentially, oh, okay, you're an attractive person. Could you, if you would swing this way on these issues, and oh yeah, we're going to take these pictures, and now you will, right? Okay, now they control them, and that's where it is.
I have an interesting story that I hold on. Hey Ted. I love you. I'm going to tell a story about your commissioner job. Can I do that?
You say you knew a guy.
I knew a guy. I went up to your neck of the woods, Joe.
Oh, really?
To visit a friend, and he met some people of authority.
Mm.
They're like, "Hey, you're a good guy. You want to be a county commissioner?" Right
Really?
where you live. Yeah. And he,
Wow.
there's a lot of, when it comes to this friend of mine, he's really been like, cause I'm an amicable fellow. People like me. I'm easy to get along with.
Yes.
My kids
Yes.
are too. The people I know are too. And when they go places, people are comfortable with them and kind of open up and tell them stuff. And they've like one of my friends, he went to school to be a cop, to be a U.S. Marshal. And then when he found out stuff about behind the scenes, it's like, oh, wow, no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Same thing with U.S. politics. Just when he found out how bad things are, the club, it's just a club.
Yeah.
He wasn't a lawyer, wasn't anybody, just was there for a visit. And they're like, I like you. You're a cool guy. You want to be a county commissioner? Pays this much. You're what? You're 20, 24, 20? Yeah.
Wow.
It's, yeah.
Wow.
But that's how it is, period. He went to Vietnam, communist country,
Mm-hmm.
and was my Asian son from Vietnam. He's that's a long story, but I was friends with his mom in high school, and then just out of the blue, my kids were friends with this Vietnamese kid with a Polish last name. I'm like, that. And it was her son. She passed away, and he's being raised by her grandparents. Anyway, they went to Vietnam, and his family's very wealthy over there. They have a diamond mine, and anyway, he's meeting like it's the communism. So those people, like the head of the police and all that, and they were like, he made spaghetti, which was very difficult to make in Vietnam. But they're like, oh, this is delicious. You need to open a restaurant in Hanoi or a couple. You want to open one in Hanoi and one in the other place. And he was like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, no, but 100,000 for each of them. And he was like, what? It's like, yeah, you're in a government job too. We'll open these restaurants. We'll do it like this month or next month. And he was like, dude, I just made spaghetti. What? So it's the same all over the world, man. And that's one reason why I used to call myself an anarchist, and I believe anarchy is the best way. It's the greatest. I don't think we're ready. Oh, yeah, that's the word, pure. I don't think we're pure as people enough, because look what happens when anyone gets any power at all. Look where it goes. Look what happens. So you can't have an open and free society. You have to have, I think, a much more libertarian. But what we were talking about earlier, you made the mention of cannons, and this just blows my mind how much the thinking of the government has changed from back then. In the beginning, and this is a lie that you couldn't have a cannon.
Yeah.
People say that you weren't supposed to buy weapons of war. It was for muskets. What was a weapon of war when it was written?
That's crazy.
It was a musket.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they always follow up with, you couldn't buy a cannon. Not only could you buy a cannon, and you mentioned Jefferson, it was this seaside community. Like one of the people wrote to him. It's like, hey, this Second Amendment, does this cover cannons? Because we have pirates and raiders that come in,
Mm-hmm.
and they can shoot us with cannons, which our muskets are no good unless they come on land.
Yeah.
And he said, like, hell yeah, it covers cannons. In fact, would you like one? So the government is like, you're going to help us do our job, which
Yeah.
is protect you.
Yeah.
You're saving us money and headache. We'll
Mm-hmm.
give you a cannon.
Yeah.
Because that's our job, is to protect you.
Yep.
And you're helping us out, man. Here's a cannon.
Yep.
It was that way of thinking completely
Mm-hmm.
reversed over the years.
Yep. Yep. That's why I think it's literally about philosophy, because whether you would say, in some issues, maybe you would be an extremist and say, no, there should be no laws at all. Anybody can do whatever they want, or you could have I'm okay with reasonable limits as they make sense, but the point is that people need to start thinking philosophically instead of religiously, or just, oh, that's what I know. How could it be any other way?
Yeah.
Of course, there's going to be this type of attacks and that type of a law, and of course, it's I don't know. It's just an odd, very foreign concept to me, at least, that. You have to hope that the police get there in time if you have a home invasion or something.
That's a very big point. That if the police get there in time, if you look at one guy, you look at this one guy, fit, huge, pump, could bench 450 pounds. That's this guy. Call him Joe. And then you have Bill, who's a cop, slow, overweight, average guy. That's him. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah.
One has a gun. That's it. It's a gun. You have to wait. And in these schools, they're basically if you boil it down, hey, we have to sit down and hide and wait for guns to get here. That's all.
Yeah.
And to say that you don't want to harden that target, because these mentally deranged psychos, whatever, they're crazy, but they're not stupid. They're not going into a police station and shooting it up. They're not
and proof in the pudding. They don't. It's not like, oh, they're not going to do it because we could think that they wouldn't do that, even though they're crazy. It is literally that any place that has laws against any guns at all, the movie theater with the Joker, the schools, obviously, they know there aren't guns there.
Yeah, there's literally a sign. Gun-free zone.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And then I hate politicians, and when they do good things, it really does. A little piece of me is annoyed. But we have a county commissioner in here, Sid Miller, and during the formula shortage, he was posted on Facebook, recipe to make formula. I mean, he's not just a complainer, but he said, after 9/11, we didn't outlaw planes, we secured the cockpits. And since the first shooting, I said, if you just offer teachers, hey, we'll pay for your concealed carry license, and you can get extra, $200 a month or whatever on your paycheck, just to carry.
You have to keep trained up.
Yeah, and that I thought would be the best thing. And as a child, I can't imagine growing up right now and going to school and being taught, hey, someone could come and they're going to try to kill you. We're going to have to put desks in front of the door and hide here. And, basically, I'm scared. You're scared. Your teacher, the adult, who's there to protect you, I'm going to hide with you and under the desk. Versus, if anyone comes here to harm you, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
Or and Mr. Johnson across the hall, he'll come over and he's going to defend you. Mrs. Smith, 2 doors down, she's they're the janitor. Mr. Nauert, the janitor, he's going to protect you. I would. We're raising kids to just be scared at home, to be scared on the. They don't even play outside. Scared outside, scared at school. I would feel so much more safe and secure if I knew that the adults were going to protect me, not that they were going to jump out of the window with me and run.
Or worse, keep your parents from coming in to safely
Yeah,
extract you. Like that stuff that happened on that last one was
yeah.
crazy. So
And
um,
it's because you're just, but it's literally you won't admit we're just waiting for the guns to get here.
mhm,
Versus,
yeah,
there's people that will happily have them there.
yeah,
It's like the cannon. They want to do your job for free.
hmm,
So I don't get it. I really do not get that.
yeah. Well, and I think that might be part of it. That it doesn't. It really doesn't make sense if you think about it logically and with any fundamental historical uh, background. But you can't convince me that there's not something behind clustering of these shootings. The fact that wait, we didn't have for 4 years one of these
Yeah,
shootings, and then now they're like weekly. And some people are saying it's narrative. They have them all the time, but it's only when the press picks them up because they want to push that. But I, I don't know. I don't buy that
well, I think
really.
it's also like I said, people are just they're growing up in a different atmosphere, and
Yeah.
and we're in a very dangerous time because there's adults now who think like this is the way it's always been. They
Hmm.
think so. Paper money's always been here. They don't know it's
Yeah.
an experiment that hasn't been around. You can watch old westerns, and they're like paper money. Oh no,
Yeah.
hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Give me a second. I made something a long time ago for this. Where are you? Here we
Get rid
go.
of these bastards, then we begin making money on those Yankees. They carry gold, not paper dollars.
I mean, it's out, but people don't know. They think federal income tax has always been a thing.
Yeah.
These are experiments that have failed.
Well, experiments. It's like they all happen to come in the same year, 1913.
Then
You
the
think about that?
War One, it's another thing that you've had. The last 100 years have been 100 years of central banking, also 100 years of war,
Yeah,
constant wars. Um,
constant.
but that's
That's
all just kind of
what it's all
common
about.
sense. Common
Yep.
sense stuff. Um,
Well, and that's the thing that I still have some level of, and I'm a very pessimistic person by nature, but that the worst part about it is so annoying to me. I have no way to know when, but I don't think there's any way that this doesn't devolve into something that ends up cleaning things back up the way
See,
that they
I'm the
were.
same way, and I didn't used to be. I used to be the most positive person. Uh, Lee used to tease me. He's like, I was watching the Titanic. You know who you are? You're the dude playing the violin with those people. You're like, it's okay, guys. I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna float back up, maybe. And I used to be that way, but I'm not. It just, and I've said this to you. You can't be a student of history
Hmm.
and rational and not admit that anytime and people always say, if you don't learn from people that don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. But then
Hmm.
they all repeat history. And historically, whenever any empire or movement or whatever has gotten to this point,
Yeah.
it never ended peacefully and nicely,
Right.
ever.
Right.
And like I believe like you said, it's so messed up that you can't fix it.
Well, you think about it. The technology of bread and circus has escalated to the level. It's almost like if you look at uh, uh, what would it be? Romantic period of music in Austria. That Vienna became so high level. It was like so advanced that it's
It was the,
crazy when
yeah,
you look at the stuff now.
it was the
Um,
center of the free world.
Yeah, and now
Do you know?
what we have is it is so easy. It's like the poorest people in this country can become overweight because everything is so plentiful. Everything is too plentiful. And then on the circus side, we had TV that was very well funneled, and then they expand it. And when they expand it, it becomes too decentralized. So okay, now we have Facebook, we have Twitter,
Mm.
we have all the big guys that control. It's so easy to control the narrative. If it's an election or if it's something like gun control, they can
And
they
that's
can tune it
that's
in.
that's another thing is that people, when you control information, and you, that's one thing. But when people are as lazy as they are, but that's a caveat for that. There's a channel, the AK guy, Brendan Herrera, awesome channel. He's a hilarious guy. I didn't watch his channel for a long time just because I'm not that into AKs, but it's a very funny channel. He's a very funny guy. But there was the NRA had their big conference here in Houston like a week or two ago, and it's Texas. It was hot, disgustingly hot. And there were people there protesting, people that left their homes and went to go carry signs and scream in the Texas heat, who knew nothing. He went there as like a joke and interviewed them. He actually had them sign petitions for a pro-gun lobby. But anyway, these people were like, you shouldn't be able to just go into a store and buy a machine gun and walk out. It's wrong. And I mean, geez, that's funny because you can't do that. But this person didn't take like 30 seconds to research that.
Yeah.
To look that up. Then they went out in the heat and are screaming and are protesting and fighting for something that is okay, fine. Whether you agree with that, that is extreme. You know, but I don't get how people could be so uninformed when information is right there.
It's sad because you know, in my day, in your day, I'm sure, if you needed to find out info, you had to go to the freaking library, and you had to look it up.
Yeah.
And
you had to make a trip.
It was hard to get to.
Yeah.
And now it's like, boom, I can have that knowledge.
But also,
in less than 5 seconds.
People don't have common sense anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can go into any store and buy a machine gun without any background check or anything. Okay, I'm a gun guy. I'm a low level gun guy. I'm sure you know lots of gun guys. How many of them have full machine guns?
I've never seen one, right?
Okay. So wouldn't it, if it was that or in Walmart, there's a whole bunch of guns right there. How many machine guns are there? Go to a pawn shop, hundreds of guns. How many machine guns are there? There's none. That's why. And that's common sense.
And you want to know why it's so hard to communicate this? Because I'm going to take devil's advocate. If I'm a anti-gun person, I'm going to say, well, Sean, surely you know they are all mechanical. They are all literally machines, right? You could take that route, and so it becomes very hard because when they talk about assault rifles and when they talk about, you know, it looks scary. You've seen the meme where the nobody should be allowed to have this, but it's like a big telephoto lens on a knife off the range like a gun. I mean, it's that type. It looks scary as heck, right? If you don't know anything about it, and that's why I think the philosophy matters. You have to know what the real meaning is.
Speaking of philosophy, that's another thing I think has been hilarious because people in fact, Brandon Herrera asked this question. Hey, there's a bill that's out. We want to take away the arms from Americans. We want to take away all their assault rifles and all the automatic weapons, especially, and give them to the citizens in Ukraine. Would you be behind? And they're like, hell yeah, And so there's people out there that are like, we have to get this money and these arms to these average citizens in this country. They have to do it. These people need it to be able to fight off tyranny, and because that's what they need. Not you, but they do.
That's that narrative channel control. I mean, the fact that you can go from the New York Times, the same publications calling it out as the most corrupt nation in Europe, to immediately going, and now I drive downtown here in town, and I see Ukrainian flags up on buildings. I'm like, wait a minute, come on. I mean, that just seems a little bit over the top. I can understand, hey, I want to support these citizens there. They're in war. I don't want to pray for them. I'm going to do whatever. It's like flying their national flag. What? It's crazy. And here's the thing.
That went over there to fight.
Yeah. Oh, geez. The Reddit guys. Oh, my God. And they posted where they were and all got bombed out. Yeah. It's
I didn't know
crazy. That it and I think almost every, because okay, you look at me, if I were a politician, and I think this is a key to victory reality, in reality, that consistently, and there are a couple of politicians that kind of hit this, it's like the Pauls with constitutional based liberty, right, that they will refer to that consistently, right. I'm usually impressed with them, but that anything that would improve individual liberty should be sought. That should be the goal. And I don't think it's a party. I don't think that the Republicans can claim that, because the Republicans have lost so much. And I don't think the Libertarians can. I think they're all fixed too. That if you look, and
Libertarians remind me of like Keystone Cops.
It's, and I think it's half of it might be intentional. That I didn't understand when I was growing up the whole idea of the controlled opposition, that if you can have somebody that you own acting like they're working against you, you win. You own everything, right?
Yeah.
Because you can just say, oh,
like if McAfee would have been, just the stuff would have been brought to the table.
Yeah.
Also, he probably wouldn't be dead.
Right. That's the truth. Yeah. And I do think, like, say, my son and I were talking a few weeks back about, and I think it was you remember, and I wasn't following it because I don't follow any of the stuff that like E is going to print, right? Where it's where Candace Owens was going on and on about some celebrity, I think a singer who was dressed as a woman on there, and my son was like, "This doesn't make any sense." I mean, here she goes on forever, and he, he liked her. She like said some really good, solid philosophical points over history, but she was railing against identity politics, right? And it's like, why does that even matter? We should be talking about these. But then all of a sudden, they're fully into the identity politics from the other side, and it very much looks like, it's almost any issue you could look at this, that you're going to have one side doing one thing and you have the other side saying nope, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And they're just pushing us, distracting us and pushing us.
Stupid.
Yeah, they're just pushing us in one direction by
I think we've gotten to the point where the common man, and that's another thing. I don't know why women are so sensitive to that. I remember when I was a kid and Star Trek Next Generation came out and they changed that line where no man has gone before to no one.
Yeah.
I was mad, and it wasn't misogynistic. It was because people were stupid.
Yeah.
Man
is humankind.
Mankind.
Yeah.
It's mankind, which is the word man is in your pronoun.
Yeah.
You're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's mankind. We're all. It's just, but also that's inclusive. That's fucking inclusive as hell. We're all the same kind.
Yeah.
We're all the same race.
Yeah.
There's no different races.
Yeah.
There's only one. We're all human. We're all mankind.
Yeah.
See, I'm losing track of where I was. Oh, people are so separated that it is us versus them on everything. Yep. I'll say the left wing and the right wing are both part of the same corrupt bird. All politicians are crooks. All politicians are terrible. My friend's like, hell yeah, man, you're right. Damn Democrats.
And you can look.
You can look. I said they're all bad. Yep, Democrats are dumb.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, and you get that, and it's programmed, and it is because, and I say this, it is because if you have a binary, it's extremely easy to get people to funnel in and identify with, okay, I'm on this team or I'm on that team. It's much harder to align people with ideas unless you have an opposing idea, and so everything's separated like that, and you can look just in our generation. You have separation by, I remember the wars when Billie Jean King and all that stuff, where feminism versus traditional, and then you have the gender stuff that's all going on now, and then you have religions. It's like they try to pit Christians against Muslims, against Jews, and then you have within Christianity it's like they think, oh, you're not really a Christian because you're, some other sect. And then you have race. It's like, oh, you're whatever race. And it's like, oh, I'm mixed. And it's like, oh
if
no.
you just called it color,
Yeah.
it like makes it so much less.
Mhm.
The word race is not a real thing. It's not a race, But if you just said, we're a color, like that sounds like it's the dumbest thing ever. You know what I mean?
But that's what they do that specifically to say, well, I identify over here because I'm this, I'm a, and it ends up being this thing where the more ways they can split the population, the less they have to worry about anybody saying, wait a minute, stop with this crap, and they're surveilling us.
I think the killing of common sense is
Yeah.
what did it. Because whenever the snake came around and bit its own tail, I was like, okay, now it's over. Now the pendulum will swing back. And it didn't because of institutions. Whenever men, biological men started competing and beating the crap out of anyone with a vagina, I thought, okay, here, this will fix it. No, because the people that are fighting the hardest are the athletes. But all the institutions are like, nope, we're not messing with it. Nope. And so
right. Well,
they're holding on for dear life.
Yeah, they do the whole where they just go along with it, and it's really crazy. Even to their the detriment of their stock and revenue. It's crazy. Virtue signaling.
When the Biden's Supreme Court nominee was up, and when he asked her, like, do you know what a woman is? And she's like, no, I'm not a biologist. I was okay, that's done. Close it down. Go home. Stop using our money for this. She can't be a judge.
Yeah.
And it still went on. And I'm like,
wow.
she's gonna rule on women's rights. She's gonna rule on things that affect women. For her, once she said that, that's it. When it comes to common sense, that should have been the end of it, and that should have been the lesson.
Well,
you can't do this.
But see, they're clouting that whole thing because they wanted her in there. She was. You look at her history. You look at her history. Now they wanted her in there.
As soon as she made that comment, that should have been the end of it. They're like, oh, okay, well, you'll be. It's like you're going there. It's a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, yeah, I want to, work with my hands. Okay, well, do you have hands? No, I don't. It's like, okay, well, then you can't do it because you have to have hands. Yeah. It's something so basic, but that's why it takes me back to what you said and what I said in the beginning. It's so bad that I don't think it can be fixed without.
Yeah, well, and it's the thing. It's so ridiculous now. I'm I don't like to say big L libertarian, but I'm a guy that's about liberty because I think it's the only way you can get the best stuff, and that's the only way that you can really, frankly, be that. It's the only way that you are able to build the things you want to build, to do the things right. And it doesn't matter. It's like I might choose to be an artist. I might choose to do something and be an industrialist. It shouldn't matter. Both should be totally fine. And the issue though is that in speaking out against the Chinese Communist Party, how they treat the people in Hong Kong or how they treat the Tibetans, I get called a racist. Because I call out, stuff about, it's like free speech. You should be able to say any word. I wouldn't say many words, but you should be able to in free and open debate. And yet it's like, oh, you're a homophobe or it's like, no, it's like you just should be able to say stuff. It's crazy.
It's really crazy that if you want to give an example of how something is so bad or so crazy, you don't have to make one up.
No,
like the reality of I don't know what a woman is, but I'm going to be a judge and rule on women's rights. That's you can't make up.
And here's the thing too. It's not honest. That's even worse than her not knowing that. It is that we and everybody knows that she is being dishonest saying that. She knows what a woman is. She knows how to define it, but she's being dishonest because newspeak. She cannot say those things.
That she's controlled, which is another thing. That's but dude, there's a senator who had sex with a Chinese communist spy.
Yep.
And he's on the intelligence committee. That's terrible. But you know what? He's still on the intelligence committee, and he's admitted to having sex with a communist Chinese spy. How you can't make up a better example of how something would be bad.
Yeah. And you look at all the stuff. What was the so yeah, you had the two Red Scare guy, McCarthy, and I'm trying to remember the Army guy that was calling out that the communists are embedded in our government,
Mm.
and they McCarthy, they made it into a meme and made everybody growing up thinking that, oh, McCarthyism's bad, you can't do this, whatever. And now it's all true. You now know that all of that stuff was true.
Yeah.
All the stuff with McCarthy, all the stuff, and I can't remember the Army guy, but he was trying to root it out of the military, and it's scary because it was all real, and he kind of just got blown off, or I don't remember what happened to him, but anyway.
And I think the idea of communism, and I say this, and communism is like a knee jerk thing, like because I say this, and everybody immediately it's like programmed gets offended, and you'll get offended. But communism is such a beautiful idea. It's so nice. See, look at you. You're like feeling uncomfortable. But it is. It's everybody working together. It's a commune, which I think it can work in a commune, in a group of a family. You know, everyone pitching in, everyone, but not on a large scale. It
doesn't translate.
Just doesn't work. Any
Well,
government is terrible.
And
if you do that, it's like the most government there is.
Yeah, well, and it is something like, say, in junior high and high school, I tended to I kind of like those ideas when they weren't applied with the nationalist tent, right? Because I was programmed to be American, but at the same time, that seems it's like, of course we could do this, and it wasn't until I started thinking more about it, whatever. So I think it's intentional too. I think that Marx, Hegel, all the rest of what developed into that was unleashed on purpose into Russia. The Germans like sure, go over, like let's let these ideas spread, and they had their intended effect. They got rid of the Tsar and everything else. It's kind of got them out of the war essentially. That it's so elementary. I don't think that it's legitimately that was honestly thought it would work. I think it's a philosopher, just talking shit. So it's just an interesting thing. And that's why I think the more liberty you have, the better, because things kind of just work out. Now you have to have. I think it would be good to have some level of accountability and the ability to say, okay, these things are harmful either to individuals or to society, and therefore we're going to say you can't do this thing. And you would have laws for crime, robbery.
Have you heard of the libertarian city in Copenhagen?
No.
Chris
No.
Owen. It's amazing. I just learned about it myself. You got to look it up. It's called like a Chrysant something or Chris. It was you remember where you live when they took over that part of the city and made it the town, right?
Yeah.
That happened in like 69 or 70.
Really?
In Copenhagen, right? But it was all hippies. They took it over from the police and all that, but they still have it. But it has evolved as a fully supposed to be an anarchist town, right in the middle of the city, and but they did institute rules. It's more libertarian, and there's like a few hippies from the original, group that did it that are still there. They're like elders, but they made it like no hard drugs, or you kicked out, you're shunned. So there's like 3 or 4 laws because people were doing like heroin, and then it was, you can't have it. But drugs are illegal in Denmark, but they have like a street where they sell like hash and weed, and the police come in full riot gear 3 or 4 times a day. And then like the whole street, somebody gets the word, no cameras are allowed in there, no phones. If anybody pulls one out, the whole community starts yelling at them, But
wow.
It's a huge town in the city. The architecture, the art is crazy. All things are beautiful. There's all these businesses, and it's a tourist place.
Wow.
And it's the most anarcho-capitalist, what am I?
Anarcho-capitalist.
Anarcho-capitalist, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've said it. The
Yeah.
most anarcho-capitalist society that there is. People are making tons of money. There's all these thriving businesses, and there's no rules.
Wow.
Everyone gets along with each other. It's like insane. And I
Wow.
just found out about this place, and it's been around for 50 years almost.
Wow. That's awesome. We'll have to go there.
I'll shoot you the link for it. There's a video on YouTube about it that's where I watched, and it was so just exciting to see that it worked. You know, that
what was it? I can't remember the name of the town, but there's some village or town or city in China that's far enough away and on the other side of mountains that they don't tend to get government oversight that much. They kind of leave them alone, and they've actually even had businesses that had to build their own roads. You know, all the infrastructure is just built from scratch by these companies.
Who builds the roads? You take
Yeah.
the cash.
Yeah, there's a whole thing in Reason about it
The road people.
years ago, but that's super interesting because that's in China. I mean, that's crazy. So
it's weird, this symbiotic relationship that the governments find that everyone can do what they want. There's no taxes, whatever.
Yeah.
But then the weed is the one thing, and it's like every day. Look, and they arrest them. If you get caught, they arrest it. Like everyone has signs, and then they got like a placard that they turn over. It's like, buy your hash, and then it's like flip it over, buy your Cupid dolls.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like a movie, like a comedy, because someone's like, they're here, and then everybody, all the little things flip around the signs, and people take their weed hat off and put on their Danish hat.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll send you the link to the video. It's really cool.
Yeah.
We need to wrap up.
Yeah.
Check out everything with DragonChain. I'll try to get the link to the letter that you sent to the SEC. Check out DragonChain. Check out den.social. DragonChain's social media platform. It's really, really cool. They also have their own YouTube channel. I'll put links and all that in the description.
Awesome.
You guys take care. It was good hanging out with you. Love y'all.
Thanks,
Joe.